Hey, I'm Tyler. Today we're taking a look at my 2001 Toyota Tundra. I've had it for about 8 months and 10,000 miles. We're going to talk about the maintenance I've done and how the vehicle's been treating me. Let's jump right into it. We're going to start with the things that have broken so far on the Tundra. The first one is the Toyota logo popped off at some point while I was camping in Washington. That was in August. I bought the vehicle in July. So I don't know why, but it didn't last very long. It just popped right off. Otherwise, the exterior's held up pretty good. This truck was in great shape. I got it with about 194,000 miles, and now it's got about 203. So that's been good. So the other thing that broke on me is this tailgate latch. It just snapped right here. You can see that's all that's left of it. Really kind of annoying. This happened in January after a long road trip. I was out in the cold. I wasn't pressing in on the tailgate, and I have a little drawer set up in here. I think that's putting some pressure on the tailgate, just a little too long. And so this snapped out in the cold. So yeah, I need to fix this eventually. Luckily, I haven't been using the bed a lot lately, but it's not going to cut it for when I go camping again. So I've got to fix that. But that's all that's broke on the truck. You'll notice I still have the soft topper on. Unfortunately, I think the soft topper will be going at some point. It's done everything I need it to. I have had a few issues with attachment in the back here that I think are the fault of the soft topper. I need to look at it, but I feel like I installed that part correctly, and it hasn't quite worked for whatever reason. It popped loose even when I screwed into the bed liner. So a little bit of a bummer on that. But otherwise, everything's held up really good on the outside of this truck. Let's move on to the interior. You can see the truck's at 203,000 miles. Everything works the way it should. I'll start it up real quick. You guys can listen. All the gauges work well. I really haven't had any issues with the truck in that regard. The drive light is out. This is a pretty common issue on the trucks. It's been that way since I got it. You just know you're in drive when there's nothing lit up on the dash, I guess. This is my stereo. This is kind of just a standard mod for me, especially since I drive older vehicles. I just want to be able to plug my phone in and play music off of that. And so far that's worked good. I've got aftermarket door speakers in there as well. Some people have an issue with these knobs breaking. I haven't had any issues with that. Like, they do pull out if you pull hard on them. I had to remove them to put the stereo in, but no issues with that. There is a little bit of a storage issue in general with the interior, like just the two cup holders here, and just popping that loose is about all you've really got. Bench seat, obviously, which has been great, but not a whole lot of storage, just two cup holders there. So one of the things I did was I put in this phone magnet, and that kind of just unclutters the phone music situation when I'm driving. This is my preferred setup for road trips, just to keep everything a little bit out of my way out and down here, because otherwise I end up putting the phone in this little slot, and that just doesn't work as good. The wire doesn't really get in the way. I can still access everything I need to, and this has worked really good for road trips, and this has worked great. I've taken some pretty bumpy roads with this system and never had any issues. I've got enough room just sitting here. One of my overall complaints with this truck is that it's not as roomy as other vehicles I've had. I had a 4Runner, I had a Pathfinder, and those back rows aren't large, but they're still bigger than this. And so this interior isn't great for carpooling. I've had as many as 7 people in the truck for an hour and a half drive, which not ideal. It worked. We made the most of it, but I generally don't like sitting more than 2 people in the back row. It just feels crowded. I did do a trip out to Colorado, 10 hours both ways, plus lots of driving while we were there, where I put 2 like grown adults back here. And they sat kind of like across, like they cross-legged each other to fit. Not ideal, but it can be done. Otherwise, it's usually just me and 2 or 3 other people in here at the most, because that back row is not spacious like my Pathfinder. 4-wheel drive high has worked every time I've used it. It was supposedly serviced sometime right before I bought it. Supposedly 4 low doesn't want to engage on this vehicle. I haven't had a chance where I really wanted to try it or risk getting stuck in it. Even though it doesn't have as much room as my Nissan, I like the V8. I like road tripping in it. It's a lot easier to road trip in than the Pathfinder was. With the V8, I just feel like it drives better. Cruise control's more usable, and you cruise at a little lower RPMs as well. I actually really like this cruise control setup. That's honestly, I love old Toyota cruise control. It's super simple. So let's talk about major trips that I've done in this vehicle. The longest I've done in this truck is 22 hours worth of driving in a week. Colorado and back is 10 hours both ways. I've done that twice now in this truck. And I also drove out to Hood River area. I have a video on that. That's about 5 hours there, 5 hours back. So I've done a lot of road tripping in this truck. It's already gone through 2 oil changes. So far, it's treated me all pretty good. I've done a couple 3-hour treks in it now. Any distance I've thrown at it, it's never given me any kind of mechanical issues. The oil pressure stays good. It runs good. Gas mileage is not great, but also a lot of my trips are on like I-80, where you can go 80 miles an hour, or at least 75, and that's never going to be good for fuel mileage. The best mileage I've gotten out of this truck so far is in the 17s, which I'll take for it being this old. It sucks when gas is expensive. In terms of preventative maintenance, since I've had it, the timing belt and water pump have been done, as well as a new radiator. Those are all things to look for on these older trucks. The radiator, if it goes bad, you get that strawberry milkshake of death, where the transmission fluid mixes with the coolant. That's not good. I've done the lower ball joints, all OEM hardware. I'm glad I did that. Tons of nasty accidents if you don't change your lower ball joints. But really, this truck is just like put gas in and drive it. It's been super simple to have. It's been reliable in the snow. It's been reliable on road trips. The only real complaints I have about it are the tailgate handle, which might be my fault. The Toyota logo popping off, though, that shouldn't happen. It did. And then the interior space on this is not that great. I don't really like making people ride in the back row when I'm carpooling. I kind of feel bad about it. It's not as good as a regular SUV or a 4-door pickup. It is a full bench row, and you can fit 6-foot tall people back there, like 2, definitely not all 3. Although I've had 4 people in the back row, it can be done, but it's not ideal really, as a hauler type of truck. Whereas a 4-door pickup, you have so much more room, or even a simple SUV. Like my Pathfinder had a tiny back row, but this is noticeably worse. My friends like riding back there a lot less. With this truck so far, I've just left it kind of a point and shoot type of build, where I really want to keep everything very simple and just have stuff run, which is why I'm probably getting rid of the soft topper, because it hasn't quite been perfect and simple. I really like the idea, but it hasn't quite fit this build the way I want it to. So it'll probably leave. But otherwise, just the radio, just getting that set up, just leave the phone there. I got the door speakers in the car. Those sound great. And everything just works. That's the way I like it. No problems. Just put gas in it and drive it. So it's been a pretty good first 8 months of ownership. Really, the downer of it all is that tailgate handle that I've got to take apart and fix. But otherwise, been a good truck. And I don't really miss my previous Pathfinder. I overall prefer this, even if the interior space isn't quite there. The pickup bed is great for hauling stuff and camping. I love having a compartment where all my dirty, unorganized junk can go at the end of a trip, and I don't have to worry about it coming into here, dust, grease. I had a problem with that in my Pathfinder. The rear carpet on the trunk was just kind of thrashed by the time I was done with it, from all the junkyard parts, all the camping gear. That was no good. But yeah, it's been a good first 10,000 miles on the Tundra. I'm looking forward to a summer, hopefully full of camping and YouTube videos, maybe some more small camping modifications, but it should be good.